So, welcome everyone to Hummingbird Vortex, a shamanic healing podcast. Today we have such a powerful psychedelic guest, and I want to introduce Vergo today. He's a psychedelic coach. He is a really very inspired figure for me that I had the chance to work with for a couple of weeks, really. But now we are going to hear all about his offerings, his service. He has also a YouTube channeling where I actually find him for the very first time. So welcome, Vergo. Thank you so much for accepting to drink a cacao. Of course, we have our cacaos here with us today. And I am so looking forward to get to know you more because, as I said, I found you one day in YouTube, and then it was so exciting for me to get the chance to work with you. It was a very short time. We will see. Maybe I will return to my coaching space. But yes, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Such a pleasure to share and to be here. I always love these conversations when somebody reaches out, and it's just like so nice to connect with like-minded people and to share stories and experiences and perspectives. So very excited for our conversation today.
Thank you so much. And given that we have our cacaos here, I will just like to invite our medicine as well with a very simple invitation. If we can take our cups to the heart space. And I received the cacao tradition from Mayan people. And what we like to do when working with cacao medicine is really just simply inviting the heart of every single direction. So we call upon the heart of Mother Earth, Pachamama, Shungo Pachamama. This is the heart of Mother Earth inside this cup, inside our hearts. This is the medicine that reminds us we are extension of her. We call upon the heart of the fire, Shungo Taita Nina. We call upon the heart of sacred wind, Shungo Taita Waira. We call upon the heart of sacred Mother Water, blessing the rivers, oceans, all the sacred sexual waters, creative waters, heart waters are all the same. And we call upon our hearts in this sacred space to share authentically whatever wants to be shared with the world. Thank you. Adding our personal intentions to relate always from the heart with every existence. Thank you, Ishkakal. Thank you, Virgo. And I want to start with a very simple question that brings a lot of curiosity to me. What is in your cacao today? How did you prepare it? Is it simple? Is it more complex? Because cacao is really a canvas for me.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, what a great starting question. I love it. So, the way I've been doing this cacao today, it's a cacao from Peru, and I just added in 4 tablespoons into a mixer, and then a little bit of honey, a little bit of chili, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of coconut oil, and then mix it all up, and it's super, and hot water, a cup of hot water, and it's super creamy and delicious. Yeah.
it looks so creamy. I love that.
Mhm.
Oh, delicious. And Peruvian cacao is such a treat. One of my
Mhm.
favorites, apart from Ecuador as well. So, do you know a little bit more about the source of your cacao? I always love to know, as much as we can. Yeah, where the land comes from, who is the people that works with it, just curiosity.
I actually don't know. I thought it's kind of a
Yeah.
trusted recommendation from a friend of mine from a
Yes.
German family who orders it and who's connected to that family in Peru, and then they have their own little cacao store. So that's where it comes from.
Nice. So, given that we are starting with cacao, I would love to hear your story with cacao medicine. Will you be able to tell us where she found you or where you found her? What happened? Was it in Peru?
That's an interesting question. Not entirely sure where. Oh, I am sure where I first encountered cacao. So the first time I encountered cacao was during my first rainbow gathering. So Rainbow Gathering is kind of this gathering of people coming together in nature, celebrating life, celebrating each other with music and love. And um, so I went to one of these gatherings. I kind of somehow heard about them, and there was a full moon ceremony. And during this full moon ceremony, celebrating the full moon, they were serving cacao for everybody. Somebody made a huge pot of cacao, and everybody was drinking a little bit of cacao. And I remember like, cacao. And that's where I first kind of encountered this ritual cacao and at first experienced it and drank it for myself as well. And I had to say it tasted horrible. It was it was horrendous. Like um I didn't like it at all, and the taste was horrible. It was very watery. It was and I didn't really know what to do with it. So that was my kind of first encounter with cacao. And then but going deeper into these circles of like-minded people and hippies and I don't know, nature people and psychedelic people, and going to more gatherings, going to more events or circles of friends, there cacao came up over and over again. And then I drank a little bit of cacao here, had a little cacao ceremony there, but I never really understood for myself what my connection to cacao is. So I didn't really know what to do with the experience. And it was also so subtle that I didn't really notice any effects. So I was like, I don't know. It's good. Sometimes it doesn't even taste really good, but I don't know what to do with this experience because I'm more like on the heavy psychedelic side and more intense experiences. That's what I was more into.
Lovely.
And then one day at a bigger rainbow gathering, that was the European gathering in France, 4,000 people in nature. There also on full moon ceremony, I drank a lot of cacao. So I drank like 7 or 8 cups of cacao. And I just, from one place to the next, there were so many cacao ceremonies going on. I was just like participating in one after the next and then kind of flowing through that space. And there for the first time, I felt the cacao in my being because I drank so much. I had such a huge intake. I could feel the cacao a little bit more, a little bit of this opening of just like being open and warm, this connected to the heart and also very awake. So I couldn't sleep for the whole night. And that's where I was first like, oh, okay, there is something to this cacao. And since then, also now over the years, my journey has been deepening and I've been able to more appreciate the subtlety and the kindness of this cacao, doing a little bit of cacao before an ecstatic dance or doing a little bit of cacao before whatever. It's just like such a kind, gentle and soft presence. And now I've been opening myself up more to it and becoming also more sensitive to the subtleties of the spirit and the effect of the cacao. So that's been my story so far.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much. I really want to thank you for your honesty so much. And I understand about, coming from different psychedelics and at first definitely not perceiving the full magic because it's a very magical plant. But of course,
Mm.
I remember, and I told this to a friend this week, that he also serves San Pedro and we work with cannabis and other mushrooms. So sometimes it can be, the subtleness of life, not obvious at first. So I
Mhm.
would like to ask you if you can recall and share what was your first psychedelic experience, because of course that's the polarity of this. What was your first psychedelic teacher? What was the set and setting, if there was? Because of course most of us we have started, with friends and
Mhm.
parties. So
Mhm. Yeah, I think my journey has been very alone and unique at the beginning. So I discovered somehow, I don't know how it happened, but I somehow heard about psychedelics when I was 15 through YouTube. So I was watching YouTube videos and somehow I heard about Alan Watts and he was talking about Zen Buddhism and Taoism and a little bit of LSD. And then I somehow stumbled across Terence McKenna, and he was talking about culture and shamanism and the psychedelic experience. And then I stumbled across Ram Dass, and he was talking about Hinduism and Bhakti and his path of service and also his background in psychedelics and LSD and mushrooms. And I became so insanely curious about this. And I don't know why I became so insanely curious about it, but I was just so fascinated by the experience and what those people were reporting back. And then I was on my quest on like kind of seeking out psychedelics for myself because I just wanted to try them. I just had to. And I guess my first psychedelic experience kind of was weed. So through social circle in school, I got into smoking cannabis. And then I had my first cannabis experience also alone. I bought this, I was smoking a couple of times with friends and it didn't really work. It didn't really do anything. And then I bought this glass pipe and packed in a gram of cannabis in there. And I smoked it by myself on a beautiful sunny day. And I was so high. Like I was the first time being high on cannabis is also such a special event. And that's where I kind of fell in love with cannabis, and I had my first opening with cannabis. Um, and then also somehow I got my hands on some LSD when I was 16. And so I tried it by myself. And I was at my parents' home. I was alone. It was kind of in the evening. And just out of curiosity, I took it alone by myself. Think about 100 micrograms maybe. Um, and I had some beautiful experiences in that time. So LSD was kind of my first entrance into the deeper psychedelic realms. And then I was the way I was going about it was I was doing stuff kind of during the experience itself. So I was reading in books about Zen Buddhism that I bought, and I was trying, I was like completely understanding the concept of Satori and of Zen and of awakening. I was watching Terence McKenna and Alan Watts and Ram Dass talk on LSD. So I was kind of filling my mind also with a lot of interesting thoughts and contemplations. And that's how my psychedelic journey started. And then I became just insanely fascinated by those states. But this was my first entrance, just alone by myself, my parents' house, exploring these realms for myself.
Very much like a medicine person. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I wonder if you could summarize what was the most profound gift that these two teachers have offered to you, cannabis, but also LSD? That's something that fascinates me. You know, I also consider LSD and all these artificial teachers, but I think now where my work has expanded to, I definitely appreciate so much more the organic nature. So, yeah, if you could
Mm,
say a gift or a treasure, a pearl that both of these
mm.
journeys have offered to you, what will that be?
Okay, so only cannabis and LSD. Because
Mhm.
mushrooms and ayahuasca and 5-MeO came also very
We will
close
go.
after that.
We will go.
But first, okay, first cannabis and LSD. So for the cannabis, it was very interesting. I think the way it gave to me most was a sense of confidence, actually. So I was a little bit more shy and holding back and in my own little circles or whatever. I don't even remember how my mindset has been before I started smoking. But when I started smoking, I didn't have any anxiety or paranoia or all these things that are could be side effects of the cannabis, but it just completely opened me up. I was just like so much more open towards life, so much more relaxed. I didn't care about anything anymore in a good way, in a good way, kind of, and that kind of spiraled me upwards out of negative thoughts into more appreciating the little things in life, appreciating a sunny day, appreciating the birds chirping, and just like and that gave me such a confidence that cannabis opened me up to this sense of relaxation and also seeing what's important, really important to me. Um, that opened me up so much that I just fell so in love with it that I also developed a kind of a little dependency on cannabis over the years. But this initial sense of confidence was something so new to me. And I was so proud kind of being able to have this connection with cannabis. So I even started selling, and I was like, I didn't hide my cannabis use from anybody. Also in school and in social settings where it's kind of a little bit more tricky, I
You.
felt so confident and comfortable with what cannabis gave me that I, for the first time in my life, kind of truly felt like this is who I am, and I'm able to show it to the world now. And that was something very special, very, very special that cannabis gave me.
It
And
sounds like
LSD, yeah,
no, it
yeah,
sounds profound and yeah, life-changing. Life-changing,
yeah,
basically.
it definitely was life-changing. Um, and what LSD gave me in the beginning, because it also kind of changes now over the years, it changed over the years. Um, LSD really hit on that spiritual side. So really my curiosity in spirituality and Zen Buddhism, deepening my understanding of what consciousness is, what who I am behind this personality. So really tapping into the source of my being, this source of infinite consciousness and infinite love and infinite self-understanding, and really like going deep into that sense of like, what is consciousness? Who am I? What is this? What is the point of all this? What is awakening? What does it even mean to be alive? Um, that was something LSD opened up for me, for sure. And then also circling back from this higher space of like the spiritual side and the highest sense of who I am, also on the personal side, it revealed a lot about who I am. It revealed a lot about what I value in life, what's actually important for me. Where do I want to go? What do I want to do in this life? What do I want to contribute and put out? How do I want to present myself in the world? And LSD allowed me to free up my mind and wander and contemplate and decide, consciously decide how I want to show up in the world. And that was also huge for me, like very, very significant openings.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, definitely. You said something that caught my attention, and you said both and probably all of those have support you understanding what is important for you, what is valuable for you. So I would like to hear more about that. What are your values and how all these connected to the psychedelic offerings that now you start to give to the world? And also, of course, I would love to hear how did you decide to start your YouTube channel as well?
Okay, that's a couple of questions. I'll go into the values first and then the YouTube channel second.
Awesome.
Um, so the values, I think initially it was just this curious exploration. Also, I have to say it changes over time. So it's not like it is kind of set, but also the meanings of the words change over time, and the priorities kind of change over time. So it's good to reflect back on it. I'm right now actually in the process on reflecting back on my values of what I set myself back then. Uh, so at first it kind of just evoked my awareness into curiosity of spirituality, how important spirituality is for me, and this whole thing. And then one day, maybe around 2 years into my psychedelic explorations, I actually set myself the intention for an LSD journey of like, okay, I want to figure out my values. I want to know what's important to me. Because at the time, and that also relates back to the YouTube channel and my service, I was doing a life purpose course. So it's like an online course from Leo Gura from actualize.org. And he kind of guides you through a process to find your own purpose in life and your mission. And also that can change. But back then, what I came up with was through that whole process, maybe a little bit of shamanism. I really was drawn towards like serving medicine and being kind of tapping into this figure of the shaman. Um, that changed now a little bit more, but part of this life purpose course was figuring out your values. So where there were beautiful exercises on like how you can figure out your values, and then I took those exercises into the LSD experience, and then I was contemplating my values on the LSD experience. And what I came up with was very clear answers for myself. So my top values are self-understanding. And each of these words mean so many different things for so many different people. So I formulated out my own definitions of these words because values are just words that we give meaning to. Um, so I included in self-understanding my whole sense of awakening, spirituality, even freedom, all of this, all of my understanding of who I am at the core of my being, and all of spirituality and awakening and enlightenment included, that's number one. Like that's the most important thing, to have this connection with God, to have this connection with source or the universe, and recognizing that and being aware of that. And then it was in the journey, it was such an interesting process because then it kind of let down of like, okay, I am aware that I am. So this is number one, self-understanding. And then what comes next? So my second value is divine love, which means, okay, I am aware that I am because of love, because
Wow.
existence loves itself into being. Existence exists out of love, out of the love for creation itself. And that was the realization. Then I was like, oh, okay, I should love. Love is this the second most important thing for me. Um, because it is the reason for my existence. It is the cause and the source of my being. So divine love and this ultimate sense of universal infinite love, unconditional love, also such a powerful word. This unconditional love is the second value and the second most important thing in my life. And then I was going through this process and I'm like, okay, I am, and I am because of love. So what's the third part? Oh, if I want to be, then I should be healthy. So health is going to be a good important thing. And till that point, health was never important to me. Like I never valued health or my diet or how I took care of my body because I was just fine all the time throughout my use. And then in that journey, I was like, no, health is actually quite important for me, and valuing health and what does it mean to be healthy and all of this, like living to a standard of excellent health or perfect health for myself is going to be such an important thing if I want to live this life with as much energy and joy and passion as I can. And of course, as I'm experiencing now and seeing in other people, there's going to be challenges and difficulties coming up, and our bodies are not sometimes not going to react the way we want them to react. But understanding this, the core of health, and really valuing that and taking steps to fulfill and integrate and live that value of health was kind of the third thing that came up. And
Mm.
then I was contemplating what's next. So I am because of love, I am healthy. So the best thing I can do is be honest. So everything I want to talk and do and be should be true. So truth and honesty is going to be my fourth value, because I want to be just like the pure embodiment of truth as much as I can, be as authentic as I can, not spin lies anywhere. And it just felt so right and pure and good to just embody this value of honesty and truth. So that was the fourth one. And then the fifth one was I am because of love, I am healthy, and because I'm healthy, I can talk and I can talk truth. And the first thing that I could say because I'm healthy and I want to be honest is thank you. So so that's the first natural response that comes to mind when I'm honest. So Meister Eckhart, the great German mystic, said, if you could say one prayer and it would be thank you, it would be enough.
I think
So
I love it.
yeah. So
Powerful.
gratitude is kind of the fifth value. And those five were just like set in stone, absolutely clear for me that those are the most important things for me in my life. And then the last ones, they kind of fizzled out into different, more personal things, of like self-actualization, community, friendship, family, partnership, adventure, selfless service, humor. Those are kind of the a few other things that came up in my values that I want to embody and live by. So that's on the value side.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. I really like that there are five values Five connects me with the quinta essence, and the quinta essence, is the most pure part of everything. And of course, we have here the seed of life, which is as well the quinta essence.
Mm.
We need this seed of life to create everything that is configured in our reality. So
Mm.
yeah, thank you for sharing. Very powerful. And I can definitely say, for what I have seen your work in your YouTube channel, you embody that. You absolutely
Mhm.
embody that. And people will be able to refer to your YouTube channel in the links below.
Mhm.
So now we can start to, yeah, if you want to share how you intertwine all these values, how you took the decision to offer this to the world, because of course, when you decide to open a YouTube channel, you are basically opening your life as well to service. And yeah, you do that very much. Thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. So the YouTube journey is a very funny and interesting one. Because I have been making YouTube videos since I can think, basically. Not since I can think, but for a very long time, not just on this channel. So the YouTube journey just started when I was even way before I discovered my values, when I was like 10 or 9 or 10 or 11 maybe, I don't know. And
Wow.
me and my friend, we started doing YouTube videos. We just filmed the stupidest stuff and like a teddy bear or a sign outside, and it didn't make any sense. And we just filmed stuff and found such joy and pleasure in it, and then we just uploaded it. And we reloaded our own YouTube video, and the views were counting, and we were like, oh, somebody else was watching, and then we reloaded again, but it was us, and it was just like such a fun thing as kids to do. And we just, yeah, uploaded all funny things of like swords fight or whatever came up as children, right? And then this journey of YouTube, it just stayed with us for throughout all stages of our teenage years and all our life. So me and my friend, we were sharing all our passions. Just sharing our passions was such a joyful thing to do, and also brought us so much. So when we were getting into anime, we were watching a lot of anime, and then we shared our passions, and we shared top lists of anime and theories of anime series or manga or whatever it was be, or if it was video games, or if it was whatever the journey was. We always had opened up a new YouTube channel and shared our things. And then at a certain point, we opened up a YouTube channel for, I think it was Zen Buddhism. I think, yeah, when we both discovered LSD and Zen Buddhism and spirituality, we and personal development, we were so passionate about that, and we shared that on the German channel as well. Um, and then throughout we found out, and that's actually the channel where I first started to share a little bit of my trip reports. So I started to share my first ayahuasca trip report, my first bufo trip report, uh, on this German channel. But then there was kind of a little bit of a dissonance between me and my friend, and not really him not fully being comfortable to turn that into a full psychedelic channel. And but it was fine that it was a part of it, but we shifted our focus to more to actually outdoor comedy, because such a great passion of ours is also being in outdoors, being in nature, hiking. And so we were like, okay, we can't communicate the realization of Satori and Zen Buddhism and awakening in words, because it's beyond language. So we're just gonna live that by ourselves and then be outside in nature and do funny stuff. So we returned kind of to comedy. And then at a certain point, there was a point where I felt this disalignment with myself, with like being so drawn towards the psychedelic path. Also, in the meanwhile, I formulated my life purpose with this life purpose course that I was doing, and my life purpose statement that I came up with was, my life purpose is to lead people to the realization of infinite love and infinite self-understanding by the embodiment and demonstration of infinite love and infinite self-understanding in my own life. And I will do that through my ability to bring back and communicate insights about truth and love from my own psychedelic experiences, to educate people about and guide people through their own psychedelic journeys. The function of my life is to demonstrate the goodness and magnitude of God, love, and psychedelics to those who are courageous enough to seek it out, and to help them integrate and embody their insights in their own life. So this statement was standing strong for me since for a long, long, long time. And then it was on me to figure out. I spent all my time kind of trying to figure out how can I actually actualize and bring this life purpose to life, and how can I actually try to live that. And that was a whole journey in and of itself, exploring all kinds of different areas or possible pathways of making quick money and then being able to go to the jungle, or going to the jungle and then I don't know, like this whole circle in like living in culture, and in what ways do I want to actualize this life purpose? Do I want to go into facilitation directly, or what is it that I want to do? What's the vessel, the vehicle for this life purpose to live itself out? And then at one point, I felt this disalignment with this channel because outdoor comedy was great, but it was taking my awareness and attention away from this psychedelic life purpose that I had. And I love doing this. And I did this other channel and this other thing with my friend for over 10 years. And it was, I couldn't imagine not doing that. So, and then I was talking about it with some other friends and looking deep inside. And then it was actually another LSD journey. I took 500 micrograms of LSD, and I went into this situation to feel into it, and it was crystal clear. It was crystal clear what I had to do. I had to leave this channel that I've been doing for over 10 years with my friend, and leave this heart project, which also bonded us as best friends, right? It was such a intimate thing that we both did and shared, and it was holding our path was this channel, this project together. It was such a heartfelt project. And on 500 mics of LSD, I could not deny anymore what life, what direction life wanted to take me in. And so I was like, I was on that journey, I was crying so much. I almost never cried so much because it was such a grieving process of letting go. I'm also okay, getting tears now in my eyes of like letting go of this heartfelt project, of this YouTube channel. And so the next natural step was to, which I actually did before I broke up with this other channel. I actually started my own psychedelic channel on the side, like during this confusion and this process. And it was gaining some traction, and it was building a little community. And I felt the desire to put more of my love into that project to fully make it come to fruition. So that's what I did. So I had this most difficult decision of my life, left this other project behind. But see, the YouTube journey kind of was always there. So it was just a natural part of my being to share whatever I'm passionate about on with the world in whatever way. And so the core thought, or the first thought behind Psychedelic Actualization, the YouTube channel, was to share my journey of actualizing this life purpose. So I had this life purpose, and I wanted to just document my journey of how I'm going to actualize this life purpose. So I thought I'm going to document my journey to become a shaman, or a psychedelic facilitator, or whatever the idea was back then. And that's been the core intention of psychedelic actualization, and building a community of like-minded people on the way. And since then, it has evolved over the time. This purpose statement is still standing very strong, and I still feel the desire to go into facilitation space a little bit more, but I don't feel completely ready yet. And yeah, somehow that kind of spiraled into a lot of learning also in the psychedelic space, learning for myself through experiences, through traveling, through meeting people, but also then going to conferences, reading a lot of books, and then kind of taking on the role of a little bit more of a teacher and an educator. So that's kind of one vehicle of living out this life purpose statement, the educating people about how to consciously engage in those experiences. Then the facilitation part is something that's going to come. And then the integration part, I recently, just like a year ago, maybe, not even. I mean, the idea was there for a couple of years, but the clarification of that idea of integration was coaching. And I looked into coaching and the true nature of coaching, and it's such a powerful tool and process to facilitate the process of integration of these psychedelic experiences. So now that has also become part of my work, being like this vessel of integration, community building, and coaching. And that is kind of the where I am at the moment of actualizing this life purpose. And YouTube is such a beautiful part of that. It's such a beautiful way to reach people and to connect to people. So many opportunities opened up through YouTube, like this conversation.
Exactly. And definitely, I have received your service as an educator, definitely, because you put so much information there. And it's not just information that you read from books, but it's information that you have passed through your being, through your experience. And I always said, we can read as much books as we want. We can, go to courses, but if that is not an embodiment experience, we are not really doing much. So now I would like to hear about how this trip to Peru happened to you, because I'm sure that was a big part of this embodiment. Which plants called you there, and anything that you want to share. I understand that ayahuasca was very much part, very profound, of this embodiment of a medicine person that you are.
Hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about that question? What
Yes.
exactly the trip of
So,
like
the trip to Peru and how
okay.
this happened,
Yeah.
how you received that call of the plant medicines, which plants were involved, and yeah, whatever you want to share about that journey that I have heard just a little bit and is absolutely profound.
Yeah, so I always had the desire, not always had the desire. First, my desire was going to Japan because of the anime culture and all of the video games and whatever. But then going more into psychedelic work, the desire shifted to go to Peru or to the Amazon and explore ayahuasca there. And I had two ayahuasca experiences, I think, before I went to Peru, and they were good and very profound. But I just wanted for my own curiosity explore how it is to explore it with a shaman or in certain traditions in the jungle. And one day I quit my job as a person for websites. I don't know. I just wanted to learn sales a little bit for myself. And a friend of mine was like, "Hey, we need to go to Portugal now." And I'm like, "Okay," quit the job, went with him on a little traveling journey to Portugal. And on the way there, we stopped by again a rainbow gathering. So it's beautiful places also of connection and of opening up possibilities. And I met someone there, and this someone is now a good friend of mine and a mentor. And he had so much changa and psychedelics with him that I was so amazed by him and his knowledge about the space and about psychedelics and his depth of experiences. So I was like, I'm gonna travel with this guy. Like, no matter what happens, I'm gonna just go where he goes because why not? But we became good friends. Then I wanted to go with him, but then my other friend wanted to go to Portugal, so our ways parted again, and we went to Portugal, had some time there. Um, but then on the way back to Germany through Portugal, Spain, we ended up at this bigger gathering in France that I was mentioning in the beginning of our conversation, where 4,000 people were. And this guy was there again, and we met again, and there he was like, "So I'm gonna go to Brazil. Do you want to come with me?" And I'm like, yeah, yeah, like why not? And my initial plan was to save up money for buying a van and then having this kind of a van lifestyle and living outside of just living outside, not in an apartment, but having a van and having this travel lifestyle. And I saved up some money for that van, and then I was okay, this opportunity, I'll just take it and take all my money and invest it into the traveling with this person for however long we're going to travel together. And so I'm like, yeah, let's go to Brazil. And at the Rainbow Gathering, immediately booked the flights to Brazil from Spain, and I had to go back to Germany even for a few days because I didn't even have a travel passport. So I had to get this express travel passport thing sorted and everything. Booked these
Wow.
fake hotels in Brazil to have everything sorted, and we went to Brazil, and that was the beginning of the journey on this of going to South America. And Brazil has been beautiful, such a profound journey. At the beginning, I was a key insight for myself was he wanted to go there because he wanted to take a little break because of a breakup and a little vacation. And so we went to these beautiful beaches and islands, and there was nothing really to do, and we didn't really had a mission. And I also stopped doing YouTube videos. I was not taking my camera with me, and I was like, huh, vacation. That's weird. Like, I don't like vacation. I like to work. I like to work on this life purpose that I set out for myself. That's why I'm here. So I was feeling a little bit dissatisfied and unhappy in that situation. And then as we moved along, we both recognized this, and then we're like, okay, we have a mission. We need to go to the Amazon and drink some aya. Um, and then we moved up Brazil, and we landed up in a little village named Vale do Capão in Bahia. Beautiful area, beautiful little town in the mountains. Tiny, tiny little town. We didn't know where to land. And then someone on the street was like, oh, you can sleep at my place if you want. And we're like, oh, thank you, you little angel. And then she was like, and there's going to be Honey Queen ayahuasca ceremony tomorrow if you want to participate. And we're like, oh, perfect, great, fantastic. So that was my first encounter with Honey Queen style of ceremony, Brazilian style. Also very profound. Not too profound, the journey in and of itself, but I loved seeing the way they did it. A little bit of a language barrier, which was kind of sad because I didn't spoke Portuguese. So that's a little bit of a difficulty of engaging in ceremony when not speaking the native language, either Portuguese or Spanish. I did learn a little bit of Spanish. Bless you. Um, and then yeah, seeing their way of life and their ayahuasca ceremony, just like being free to dance around the fire, not even having buckets to vomit into, but just going into the forest, and it's like this so free and so yeah, very interesting. Having a fire burning and singing and dancing and whatever is included in that. So that was an interesting experience. And then we moved on to the north. And our initial plan was to search for shamans or ayahuasca ceremonies just like by ourselves, not go to a retreat. But then somehow the universe guided us to, or said that one of his friends was at an ayahuasca retreat volunteering, and he was like, "Oh, let's go visit her and see check out this retreat. If she says it's good, then it's gonna be good." And so we booked a retreat at La Luna de la Amazonia in Iquitos or near Iquitos. And I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like my initial plan was to go to Peru and say like, okay, I'm ready to go all in to first of all explore the psychedelic space as deep as I can for myself. And then my plan was to go and facilitate at an ayahuasca retreat. Like I was like, okay, if I want to learn facilitation, then I want to facilitate at an ayahuasca retreat. That would be the first logical step. um, and then we arrived at the retreat, and it was interesting because these ceremonies, it was 8 ceremonies in 14 days, and it was hard. It was difficult. um, and that was the not the first time, but definitely the most intense time where I checked in with myself and I had to ask myself, it's like, is this something I really want to do? Because I think it's common for many people who tap their toes into psychedelic waters to be like, I'm gonna be a shaman. I want to facilitate now. It's like this is my path. And I was the same way, absolutely. But then before I started facilitating or before I want to go into facilitation, I was like, I need to explore deep, deep, deep down myself and just like know the space and really be like humbly mastered exploring this space. And I always thought in my all my journeys, I always thought like I'm good at handling psychedelics. Like I am good at all the kind of crucial skills that are needed in those journeys of like surrendering, accepting what is, trusting, letting go. whatever it might be, opening up to this space, receiving the teachings, not being afraid. I was like, always like, I am like, this is, I'm made for this. And then at this ayahuasca retreat, that was the first time I really started to doubt that. And because it was hard. The first week of ceremony was just intense physical experiences. So no visions of light, no beings, no realizations. It was just vomiting and shitting at the same time, day after day after day after day. And then after 1 week, you're like, at least I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Why am I here? What is it? What is going on? Is it just this medicine? Is it this path? Am I not suited for ayahuasca? Do I want to go with some other medicine? Or what is going on? Like I don't know. Um, and then the second week it opened up a little bit more. I had very intense experiences. One night I remember I had an experience of infinite sickness. So I felt like I was getting sick during the night, and I was like, oh, why am I getting sick? And then it got worse and worse and worse, and I felt like I was going through all kinds of sicknesses. So the bodily aspect of it was so intense and so, yeah, just so humbling, just very humbling. But I eventually got through that, and then the seventh ceremony was definitely, I would say, life-changing for me, definitely. Because that was a ceremony where I faced my death for the first time. And I have had kind of this dissolution into infinite consciousness before, and also letting go of my egoistic sense of self and opening up to that. But I was never, maybe in my first mushroom journey, 5 grams in silent darkness, that came close, but I didn't really understand at the time. But in the ayahuasca ceremony, it was facing my death for the first time, of like, I was realizing infinite love, and having this kind of God realization and understanding everything is made out of love and because of love, and all was beautiful. And then that shifted into an experience of facing death. And then it dawned on me, and I was like, oh shit, I'm dying. And the yeah, I first, and that was exactly my intention for the retreat, right? To go as deep as possible, as deep as I could possibly go and handle. And I was ready in a certain sense for this experience, but I was not fully able to let go into death. And the intensity of the experience, just because I was also a little bit cocky, and I was a little bit like, come on, shaman, give me a little bit more, give me a little bit more. Each ceremony, I was like, give me a little bit more. And it's just this physical suffering. It's like, come, give me a little bit more. And he's like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, amigo, tranquilo, amigo, take it slow.
Breathe.
And I'm like, no, give me a little bit more, a little bit more. And then at the seventh ceremony, it was like, holy shit, this is intense. And it was, yeah, just like, I think it's good to be aware of the intensity of how intense such a deep psychedelic exploration can go. And it just opened up this possibility of like, this is so deep. This is so deep that I didn't even know who I was anymore. I didn't know where I was anymore. I didn't know, like, so disconnected from my body, so disconnected from the sense of there being a ceremony. I didn't know I took ayahuasca. I didn't know I was in a ceremonial space. I didn't know who I was. And then it was just me and facing my death. And it's like, you are dying right now. And that's the situation. And how are you going to deal with that? And I dealt with it kind of, okay, letting go, letting go. And I could, and then something was coming out. Oh, what about your family? They're gonna think you died in an ayahuasca retreat in the Amazon. I'm like, okay, I can let go of that. And then, what about your purpose? You want to actualize your life purpose. So what about that? You can't do that anymore if you die. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna let go of that. And I was letting go of everything, and deeper and deeper. And then, okay, shit, I'm dying. What about this? Okay, I can let go. I was letting go. And there were so many more details in that ceremony. It was such a wild night. But at one point I was faced with the decision. I was kind of feeling like I was losing consciousness. So I was feeling like I had to let go of my awareness of dying. And that was the switch I couldn't quite do. I couldn't let go of my awareness itself. I was like, shit, no. Like, I want to be aware of me dying right now, and that's it. I can handle that, but losing my awareness or my consciousness, that was a step I couldn't fully trust or let go into. And it shook me. It shook me and definitely made me question that whole thing. And then even afterwards, the retreat was like, yeah, you with your social media skills and everything, it's like you can come here, stay here, facilitate ceremony. And I was like, this is the opportunity I've been waiting for. This was my dream. I wanted to facilitate an ayahuasca retreat. I never knew how I was gonna be able to do it, and this is the opportunity. They're offering it to me, uh, and I was not ready. I was like, no. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Because this experience, it shook me so much to the core of my being that I was like, I'm I'm not gonna do this this deep exploration for a longer time now. And that was it. And I was like,
Wow.
this is not for me. And so I put down this opportunity of facilitating an ayahuasca retreat and went on with my friend to Mexico. And then we traveled to Mexico a little bit and had a few nice experiences there. And then I came back to Europe. And since then, yeah, that has been like the crucial turning point of like me starting to question this path of, okay, what is it that I actually want to do? And and also committing myself to this purpose of facilitating ceremony or going deeper into explorations. Is that something I really want to do? And I'm still questioning. I'm still like now years later, I'm still in the point of questioning that and still exploring further and still tapping my toes also into other medicines. And then I was like, okay, maybe it's just ayahuasca that's not for me. And then I was exploring other medicines deeper, and I'm like, okay, all of them in the deeper realms, all of them are going to bring out stuff that is at the core of my being. All the fears, all the impurities, everything is going to come up, no matter the substance. Maybe with cacao, not so much, but but with all these deep psychedelic realms, it's like I yeah, there's stuff I'm allowed to work through. And then yeah, still in the process. So that's been my trip to Peru and my journey of actualizing or questioning if this life purpose is even right for me. Like to deep respect to everybody who is journeying so deep and like following this path of the shaman. Shaman is also such a loaded word, so it's kind of means something different for everybody, and there's different definitions. But even just the path of the facilitator and holding space for people in deep psychedelic space is something I'm still in the process of, yeah, clarifying for myself what that means, and if I want to do that, and if I'm able to do that and take that responsibility, or if I just or if I'm just gonna do my own explorations a little bit further, or if I do even want to deepen my own explorations, because now even since that point, I've had some chip. I guess my journeys have been becoming more difficult and more challenging. As like the honeymoon phase is over, all these beautiful little glimpses into enlightenment. Now it feels more like work, like real work, deep, deep, deep work with a lot of challenges on the way.
Wow. Such a powerful journey. Thank you so much for sharing with such a detail, because in our community, there are many beings that are starting to explore with ayahuasca, with bufo, with these different psychedelics, and I'm so sure that they are going to receive so much nourishment from your share. But I would like to ask you, I am so curious, because you have had these so deep and powerful experiences on the land as well, being called and just following the call, like, yes, let's do it, to Peru and so on. So I'm very curious about if you would like to share what are these kind of like still resistances or questioning that make you feel that you are not ready. And the reason why I ask this as well is because, you know, myself, I have been as well, and I am still in many different things in that space of feeling maybe I am not ready for that further step. And as well, I know in our community, there are many healers that have beautiful paths, but sometimes this thing of the readiness can be like such a wall that we place for ourselves, never feeling like enough. And I feel that is very much related as well with this distorted programming that has place in our humanity of not being enough. So yeah, if you would like to share what has been these little like rocks of questioning, of challenge that make you believe that.
So I'd say every single one's path is very unique, right? And there is a sense, I guess, that each of us has to differentiate and be clear about what is coming from this voice of like, I'm not good enough and I'm not ready yet, or I'm not worthy of doing this work. So that's one part that we can explore and get to the root of this voice, and then that might be something to resolve. Especially that's been one very present for me in like the coaching journey, and like feeling not ready to coach people, feeling not ready to teach people, not being able to extract the learnings from the books and then teach it to people and receive something back for that. So even there's this core voice of like the I'm not good enough, I'm not ready yet. I personally think with the aspect of holding space, it is, especially in psychedelic journeys, there's another aspect of like, it's hard to put into words, but there's another aspect of how much responsibility am I willing to take? And to what degree do I feel ready to hold the space? So it's not just do I feel ready to hold the space or not, but to what degree do I feel ready to hold the space? That's been the question for my own journey. So what has helped me is, because there comes a humongous sense of responsibility with holding space for people. And what has been made me question if I am ready to hold this space for other people, because I always knew like, okay, I can be responsible for myself. I can journey by myself. I have always journeyed by myself, and I can journey by myself. And if I go into very deep territory, I look out for somebody who's just going to be there, who I could trust. And even that's for me very very few people, just like who I can fully trust. Even in that ayahuasca ceremony space, there were some things that were not resonating in how they handled the situation of me having this very intense and difficult experience. And then just seeing the difficulties of this intense space. So holding a cacao ceremony is a little bit different, because then there is a certain degree of safety of like, you can hold the space, you can still create such a beautiful ceremonial space where people get into very deep processes, but there's a matter of safety in that space with the cacao. In deep psychedelic space, there can be very unexpected things that can come up for the other person that you might not have expected before. So, for example, my friend, he was having one of his most challenging experiences at the ayahuasca retreat and felt like he was stuck in infinite hell forever. So his response was to run around naked in the jungle, into the jungle. And then people had to run after him and make sure he is safe. And that's a huge responsibility. Make sure somebody is not choking on their own vomit if they're vomiting. Make sure somebody is breathing, because it gets very intense. I myself had a very, maybe this has marked me also a little bit, but I myself had a very challenging experience when I was getting into LSD, and I was sharing it with my best friend. And he responded beautifully. We had a beautiful time together. And then he was like, I would like to share it with this friend as well. And then I was like, okay, sure. Like, send him this and this and this as a preparation for our experience together. But I didn't make sure that he actually did the preparation and what his intention was, and then also I overdosed him. So it was very good acid, and we both took 200, and it was his first experience, and I didn't have the knowledge and the responsibility to be mature enough to dose him a little bit no lower or whatever it was going to be. And I didn't make sure that he was going to be able and ready for this experience, and he was not. It was too much for him, and it was one of these typical bad trip stories of like him freaking out, not being able to understand what's going on, thinking he's gonna die, thinking everybody is a demon, we are devils, and whatever crazy stuff is gonna be included in that experience. And we had to call the ambulance, and he had to be in the hospital for the rest of the trip because we couldn't hold the space for him. We were not able to get him back out of this loop. And that was also a wake-up call for myself of like, oh, okay, careful with whom you. That's the matter of degree I've been talking of for myself, because as I've been going on, I've been also still going on to facilitate a little bit. So I've been sharing not LSD experiences, also not psilocybin experiences, but DMT experiences, for example, Changa experiences, because I've been getting very familiar in the Changa space and the DMT space myself. Have journeyed maybe not to the deepest depth of that medicine, but quite deep, and I know the space for myself now really well, and so I've been starting to share low dose, low dose Changa experiences with people, and have been slowly seeing if I can hold the space for that. And I have been able to hold the space for that. And there might be some difficulties, but overall, I have been able to hold the space for that. So let's just like very carefully tapping my toes into the water, not thinking, okay, now I have drank ayahuasca 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 times. Now I can be shaman. No, it's like I have done DMT hundreds of times, and now I want to slowly share this experience. And if somebody's curious, I feel into myself. I listen to my intuition. I look them into the eyes, and I talk to them and talk to them about why they want to do it, why they're here, what might be coming up for them, why they are doing this. And then if I feel in the core of my being that it is something that I feel comfortable sharing with them, and I might be able to hold the space for them, even though it might be a little bit difficult, or they might not expect whatever is going to come up. But if the right intention is there, and I feel that they are someone who is able to handle it to a degree where I feel comfortable holding the space, then I go on to share it, and maybe start with a lower dose, see how they respond, and then up the dose as we go along. But yeah, that's where I stand at the moment. But then going into deeper space, or like facilitating cacao, facilitating rapé ceremony. I love facilitating rapé. That's something I know everybody's gonna have their own reactions and unique experiences, and some might vomit, or some might have very intense bodily vibrations, or whatever's gonna happen. But I know I can hold the space for that. I know I can hold the space for the cacao. And that's the degree I feel comfortable. I know I can hold the space for low dose DMT experiences, but I not yet. I do not feel comfortable sharing a high dose 5-MeO DMT experience before. I do not feel comfortable sharing or holding space for somebody, at least not alone. That's also the difference, right? For an ayahuasca ceremony. So that's the idea of learning from somebody who is already doing it, and then just being part of the facilitation team, seeing other people, other wonderful beings who are taking this responsibility and who are doing the work beautifully, seeing how they do it, learning from them, taking on their tips on how to hold the space, on how to facilitate ceremony in a way where it's best for the person who is in the psychedelic space.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I really want to thank you because Along these years, I also observed how this work can get very distorted, just as you described. Sometimes we go to ceremony and we have life-changing experiences, and then people start facilitating, and that's exactly where a lot of distortion can happen. So you have definitely a wide variety of experiences. I would like to ask you if you can give us some insights about the importance of preparation and integration. Why this is so important, because this enters again into the responsibility of understanding that these substances are serious stuff.
Yeah, sure. A lot to say about those two topics. I would say the core of what stands behind preparation and integration is minimizing risk and maximizing benefit. So by proper preparation, we want to minimize the risk of something going wrong. There's always the potential for a deep, difficult experience to emerge, always. And we can never be 100% safe in that space. There's always a possibility that something unexpected comes up and that we're not prepared for. But doing certain practices of preparation can minimize the risk. So taking care of our set and setting, being clear on our intentions, doing some practices, cultivating some traits, cultivating the trait of courage, of faith, of trust, of letting go, of surrender. All of these things can be practiced in non-psychedelic practices like meditation, like yoga, like ecstatic dance, like whatever nature retreats or meditation retreats. All of these things can be practiced, developing our understanding of spirituality, developing our understanding of what it means to be open-minded, what it means to not be attached to appearances or our egoistic mind or mechanisms or sense of control. So all of these things can contribute to getting us to a place where we are more likely to respond in a way that benefits and that maximizes the benefit that we can extract out of the experience, the learning that we can get out of the experience, the insight that we can get out of the experience. No matter if the experience is going to be positive and enlightening and beautiful and full of love, or if it's going to be challenging and bringing up fears and shadow material that we have to process and deal with. Both of these experiences can be equally beneficial and equally beautiful if we can go in with this sense of preparation. That's why we want to go in with this sense of preparation, because then there's not so many things that can go wrong. But if we and just it's about also preparation is about raising awareness of where, also the matter of degree, of what degree of safety do we feel comfortable with? What degree of uncertainty do we feel comfortable with? Do we feel comfortable with dropping 500 mics of acid and being outside in the city or at a festival or at a concert? Because that's a lot of external stimuli that we can't control. Even in nature, there's a lot of external stimuli that we can't control. Are we properly, even just practically, are we properly prepared to spend 11 or 12 hours in nature outside if we get lost on LSD? Do we have enough food? Do we have enough water? Do we have a map to know? Do we have enough battery charge to call somebody if we are gonna meet a difficult situation? So all of these things is just like, to what degree do you want to ensure or maximize your level of safety and minimize the risk of you getting into a difficult situation? I've been asking some people, and there's all these crazy stories. Everybody has them. I have them myself. These stories where there have been difficult situations, and they're great stories. I have to admit, most of the stories where it got a little bit dangerous are some of the greatest stories, right? But also they have been some of the most difficult or also dangerous situations. Getting lost in the mountains, not knowing the way back because you're too high on acid, um, drinking ayahuasca alone, and then not having somebody there who checks if you are choking on your own vomit. And then you're sitting there out of your body, not being able to move. The vomit is coming out and you're choking on your own vomit, and that could end deadly. Um, or salvia also, or bufo, not having control of your body, hitting your stashing around, getting sand into your eyes, whatever is going to happen. All of these are real possibilities and dangers. And with a certain degree of preparation, we can minimize those risks and minimize the potential consequences that follow from that. And a beautiful part of this preparation is also taking a sense of responsibility, building up our responsibility for ourselves. That's been a huge part for me, and which is, I guess, for every serious explorer, it's crucial to have this sense of responsibility of like, okay, if I decide to go into this journey, I will take responsibility for the consequences of that. If it's tripping outside with friends, with festivals, or I don't know, sharing the experience with a friend, I will take the responsibility for that, for the consequences. If a friendship is going to break apart, if I'm not being able to handle this, if I'm getting lost, if I have even with safety preparations, there can be consequences, and I'm experiencing them right now myself. For example, going into 5-MeO DMT journey, a little bit too much and overdoing it a little bit, and now I am having a tinnitus, a very loud tinnitus since that experience, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a consequence of my choice. I have to take responsibility because I decided to journey very deep with this substance, and that is a potential consequence of that. And so taking the responsibility for that is also, I guess, part of the preparation and of the integration. And then moving into the integration, it's also maximizing the benefit. There, it's really about maximizing what we get out of these experiences, because it's beautiful and nothing wrong with it just to have those experiences and then have these crazy visions or insights or whatever. But then, very likely, as many of you might have noticed, you are gonna forget the insight, or the experience kind of fades away, and it's very hard to hold on to the memory of what actually happened and actually be in this state that we embodied in the psychedelic state. So then the integration is about how I can use these insights and tap into the state that I desire to embody more and more. And there's infinite ways on how we could do that, of like building up meditation practices, building up whatever is going to serve us best to tap into those realizations, actually making the changes. And it might take a couple of journeys that are going to show you the same insight, until you're like, oh, okay, that's something I need to do. Maybe I should, if it might have something to do with your work or your purpose or your family or whatever is it's going to be. There's a certain, yeah, benefit in actually integrating your experience. And the way we can do that is, as I said, infinite, but some ways where I what I like to do is, like, after a journey, take time, take time to write down the insights, contemplate it. Not instantly go watch a movie, not instantly go on your phone and distract yourself, not instantly go on and do the next thing, but really, like, let it sink in for a bit, contemplate on it, reflect on it, and then see what you can do out of this. And then also another part of the integration I've found for myself is also on the mindset side of traits, not judging ourselves for not being able to integrate everything all at once instantly. So this is also this, it gets into a little bit more complex and tricky territory of like, oh, now we had this enlightening experience, but now we come back to our sense of self with a little bit of a, our ego mechanisms are in place again. Maybe we even have a little bit of an ego backlash, and then being aware of this and being able to handle this and move with it and flow with it in a way that is benefiting us and that is still progressing us forwards, because we do take something out of these experiences. That's what I found for myself. There's a certain inner knowing that stays, but then not judging myself for being in the state I am right now. Um, and also working with it with love and being kind to yourself and just like accepting the progress you have made so far, seeing that, appreciating that, and then seeing what you can do slowly to move forward and integrate that state of being that you want to embody here on this earth, that state of consciousness, slowly integrate that more and more into your being.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's so powerful to prepare, to integrate, to really create a space for us to take the richness of these experiences.
Mhm.
So something that we work a lot, quite a lot in our community, because this is the tradition that I receive with cacao, is the Mayan calendar. So today we have the energy of 6 bats, which bats is, I like to describe it as the web of love, the web of reality, what connects everything from a quantum physics point of view. We can say that it's just this space that is creating a reality. So I would like to ask, because one part that people, and I can tell that for myself as well, can struggle with when we start this path of spiritual awakening, even if it's not psychedelics, but sometimes even more when it's psychedelics, is to feel disconnected. And I know that at this moment, there are different people in our community that are having this kind of like disconnection from their old systems. So I would like to ask you, taking this reference of today, the web of love and connection, what has been the role of community for you in this path? How has that evolved? And also, if you can share a little bit, how have you navigated this path within partnership? Because sometimes, there's these two parts. Sometimes it's beautiful. I start myself within partnership and it's so magical. But as well, sometimes this path, take us from different routes with friends, with partners, with communities. So how have you navigated that space to feel that you have some sort of wave that is holding your back, even if that has evolved over time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful topic. Absolutely beautiful topic. I've been on my path recognizing the importance of community more and more. It's incredibly valuable to have these connections. So I started out alone on my journey of explorations. I didn't have anybody who was like on the same path, and it hasn't felt really lonely. So I didn't really knew what I was missing because I was just getting into it by myself. Um, but then over the years, with the rainbow gatherings, especially with traveling around, getting outside of my little city here and meeting people, that's where I started to really appreciate and recognize the importance of community, being accepted as I am, meeting people who share the same passions, who are on the same path, exchanging ideas, exchanging experiences, practices, insights. Such a beautiful thing to have. It's so precious. It is so, so, so precious. And there have been only a few connections where I went like really deep, where I have like a deep connection now to some people. It's just very few, but I'm very grateful to have these. And even though they might be spread it all over the world, I know they are there, and I know I can go there, and I'm home there. So having this sense of connection and community, crucial, absolutely crucial. And like not being sad if it's not present in your life at the moment, but if the desire is there to build it up, then I recognize for myself there's always a choice to build that up. There's online communities, and even offline, there's always people hidden here and there. Even in my little tiny German town here, there is some degree of like-minded people hiding somewhere and meeting up. And if it's not, then maybe you might be the one who wants to start that and bring that into existence. or take the responsibility, again, coming back to responsibility, taking the responsibility to move into a space where you are able to connect with more like-minded people.
Nice.
Um, that's been a choice for myself as well. Long term, I want to move to a place where I can connect with more like-minded people in this space. Um, and I've been traveling around and meeting beautiful, there's little hubs of like-minded people and people who you resonate with, hubs of people where there's a few temples, a few ashrams, a few psychedelic retreats, whatever is going on. There's places like this, and then taking the responsibility to move towards that and build that up in your life is, I think, for me, it's been a crucial part. So it brings a lot of learning. I'm learning so much from other people from who are on the same path. The same
Mhm.
connection, this connection of not being fully isolated and alone on this path. Um, for myself, it hasn't been that much of an issue because when I'm alone and I don't have that connection present in my life too much, I'm fully focused on my work. So, and this work is online and there's some certain sense of connection coming back, and I'm just also very fine by myself. So that might also be a topic to look into. It's like, if I don't have this connection, why am I not fully aligned and at peace by myself in this present moment? And then also taking responsibility for that, looking into that, exploring that. And nevertheless, moving towards, if that's a desire of yours, moving towards community, moving towards connection, moving towards building that up and looking that up. And it's such a beautiful thing to have. With partnership, I haven't explored it too much, just a little bit in my own personal journey. And and it's different, it's so unique to share this experience, especially psychedelic experiences or the spiritual path, with someone you are intimate with, because it gets very interesting to observe your own patterns of like nuances get discovered and kind of come to the surface of what you really believe in, what's your practice, what's your way of seeing things, and there might be a difference in your partner or your friend in how they see things, and then navigating that, not judging it, not wanting or trying to change their perspective into what fits your perspective, but like coming back to this unconditional love, loving someone for who they are, and then appreciating their perspective as well. And then also, again, seeing to what degree you want to engage in psychedelic journeys with those people. Um, if there's a place for having experiences together, but there might also be a place for having experiences alone, not always having experiences together, but also recognizing and appreciating your own path and your own journey, kind of not being too codependent on each other, but recognizing that you are whole in and of it yourself, and the other person is whole in and of itself, and you are choosing to walk this path together at this moment in time. And if that might go and fluctuate and a little bit for some time, then that's something to navigate and feel into. And if you're coming together again, then that's also part of the path. So getting out of this codependency a little bit and recognizing the wholeness within yourself is also, I think, a crucial part of even being able to connect to people. Because if I've found and observed in many people, it's like if I connect with somebody because I want to have connection, then this energy of needing something is coming from my own desire, from my own egoistic desire, and that is going to repel people, and I'm going to not attract the people I want into my life. But if I feel connected and whole and clear on what's important to me, and I live that out and express myself in the world with my passions, with my values, with my purpose, and I know why I'm here, and I know I'm whole in and of myself, and I am loved, and I am appreciated, and I'm worthy of connection and love, and I embody that even without having the connection, and I then take even some steps to go out, then the connection is going to happen inevitably. It's going to arise automatically, and people are going to show up in your field, even though you haven't even really expected them to or searched for them, because you are whole in yourself, and then automatically those people are going to come your path. If you go out to events where you enjoy it, like something you enjoy. That's where the connection happened. Actually, that's what I've recognized for myself. When I was getting out of school, I was like, how am I going to connect with people? How am I going to find friends? So I went out to these rainbow gatherings in nature, sitting around fire and making music. That's something I enjoy. And I met beautiful friends. Being in psychedelic space, psychedelic conferences, psychedelic retreats, psychedelic communities, or just like permaculture communities, whatever it's
Mhm.
going to be that you enjoy. It might be something completely different. It might be something like a philosophy club. It might be something like a temple. It might be something, there's infinite possibilities. Whatever you enjoy, there's other people who enjoy that. And then going out into those spaces with an open heart and an open mind and this feeling of you are already whole, then there's going to be magic happening.
Beautiful. Just by resonance effect. Yeah, thank you so much for bringing the wholeness element, essential.
Mm.
Yeah, and now I would like to jump a little bit back to ask you about these Bufo, these Salvia teachers, these experiences,
Mm.
and of course, this DMT as well, that you are very much deepening your path, holding a space for others. If you can share what called you into that very deep space, if you have any recommendation as well for people that is feeling that call to really dive deep, even if they don't have any previous experience sometimes. The plants can just call us, and it can be a little bit frightening, especially with these very powerful ones.
Yes. Hmm. With the DMT and the ayahuasca and the bufo and the salvia, I guess there's nuances to all of them. And the first thing is an authentic, true desire that comes from within. An authentic, true desire to experience it for yourself. Because that's, I guess, the first step, to have this purity of intention. Not having somebody else told you, like, oh, you're gonna meet God if you smoke some 5-MeO DMT. And you have to do it. And then you're like, oh, I'm not sure, but I guess I have to. No. It's like it has to come from
Flag.
deep inside of
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm really curious about this salvia thing. I'm really curious about DMT. It's been calling me, and then really connecting to this authentic desire. So I guess that's the first step. And especially with those experiences, I could just recommend or heartfelt share of like being even more careful and curious and just cautious around with whom you're sharing this experience, who is facilitating that space. Um, Also different approaches towards the experience. There's a certain sense of um, picture that is out there that, especially with NN-DMT and with the 5-MeO DMT, maybe even with the salvia, that you need to go and have the full experience right now. Terence McKenna, who's saying, take the third hit, like do and go break through on DMT. Or if you're going into Bufo Alvarios and 5-MeO DMT, you're gonna have to go all in. You're gonna have to come to the end point and meet God. And that might be an experience that is right for you at this specific time. And if you feel the authentic desire, then by all means, go and go for it and try it out. And if this authentic desire is there and you're still a little bit unsure, then it's a matter of courage. Then it's like, it is going to be the unknown. It is going to be more unknown than anything you've previously known. It's going to be so different from your normal state of consciousness. And that takes courage to explore those realms. So then it's a matter of building up the courage and just taking this leap of faith, um, and jumping in. But also on this side of like, do you have to jump into the deep end all at once when you're just beginning to contemplate to explore these substances? From my own personal experience, I would say no. I have found for myself, I mean, I have done it. I have gone into the deep end with Bofo in my first experience and met nothingness. I have gone into the deep I've tried to go into the deep end with DMT, but it didn't work out really. And with salvia, good, that's a whole other ball game in and of itself. But just like for the NN-DMT and the 5-MeO DMT, I would say there's also value in developing a relationship to that substance and that medicine in lower realms and in lower doses. Do some handshake doses. Get to know the space, see how it feels. Slowly get curious and comfortable, slowly working your way up, find your own sweet spot instead of beginning high and then working your way down. Is like you can also work your way up. And there's benefits and also some uncomfortable things in that. So for the 5-MeO DMT, for example, I do not benefit as much from the lower doses. I've been experimenting with lower doses a little bit, and it's been a little bit more confusing and a little bit like I don't know what to do with this state, and I don't know if it resonates or if that is what I'm looking for at the moment. But the higher states are more what I'm looking for. But still, like not being fully set on I have to go and break through now, but there's also the possibility to very gently start and very gently explore these experiences. And then if you decide to go in full in, then seek out somebody who you can fully trust. Talk to people who have maybe done experiences with them, holding the space for people with DMT or 5-MeO DMT. With salvia, I would recommend always having somebody there. I've just done it once, so I don't know much about the salvia space. I've done a 10x extract once, and I actually enjoyed the experience, but I haven't done it over 2 or 3 years now because it's been so intense. It's like it's so intense, and for many people, not for all, but for many people, salvia especially is a very uncomfortable experience. It's a dysphoric experience. It can be very weird, very scary, it can completely rip your reality apart. And I would double check in with yourself if you really want to explore that space. I think that is something for just very courageous and deep explorers who already do have a lot of experience in other realms with more gentler and brighter psychedelics. But yeah, on the 5-MeO and the NN-DMT, if it's calling you, then there's no way to know what it wants to show you because each experience is going to be so unique. Each journey in and of itself is going to be so unique, and it's so, especially with the DMT, I think it's so unique for everybody. There's categories of experience where people have like similar encounters or similar experiences, but it's also good to lay down all preconceived notions of what people have told you about those experiences and just fully go into it with honest curiosity and an open heart and a readiness to receive whatever this wants to show you. And that does take courage. It does. It does take a lot of courage. And it might show you something really beautiful, or it might show you something that you don't understand, which is really confusing. And it might also show you something very dark and very challenging. And all of these possibilities are there, and nobody is going to know what this particular substance, is going to present to you in those spaces. And then coming back to the responsibility, taking responsibility for the consequences of that experience. You might think you are able to handle the DMT space, but then all of a sudden it strips away all you thought you ever knew. And you are questioning everything you ever thought to be true. And it might show you that. And that's difficult to deal with for some people. But then we come back to the integration and the preparation part, minimizing the risk through proper preparation, set and setting, and maximizing the benefit for taking the time, being very clear, having the practices. Um, if you're lacking the courage a little bit, there's beautiful other things to explore first, which are psychedelic in nature, but not as immediate and powerful as the 5-MeO or the NN-DMT. For example, holotropic breathwork, breathing for 45 minutes, breathing for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. That's going to get you into very deep territory. And and if you're not completely familiar with like the deep psychedelic realms, then that might be something to explore further first. And then slowly, if the opportunity is gonna emerge and you feel it's time to go into these experiences, then it's a leap of faith and an act of courage to go into that. Sure.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I agree. It's very unique for everyone because at the end of the day, these experiences reflect how we relate with source, with consciousness, with God, the goddess, whatever name we want to place there. So I would like to ask you two things. The first one, just to complete the salvia part. Would you recommend anything about like how to take the salvia? Because I have heard, I haven't taken salvia myself. I have some that was gifted to me, but I have heard that she doesn't like to be smoked, and that sometimes that's why she gives bad journey. She rather be chew. That's my question. And then, as an educator of this work, I would like to hear your definition of entheogenic. What is
Hmm.
an entheogenic for you? How this differs from just the word psychedelic?
Hmm. Yeah, sure. So the first thing regarding the salvia is very unique for everybody, I guess. There's so many different perspectives on it, and some people do say the spirit of salvia doesn't like to be smoked. Um, and there's many different ways to approach the experience. As I said, I can't say from my own experience because I haven't experienced it myself, but there is ways where you can chew the leaves, as you said, you can make a tea out of it, you can, and then consume it. And then it's going to be the chewing and the tea is going to be I've heard, a more gentler journey over a longer period of time. And then there's these extracts out there, like the 5x, 10x, 20x, 30x, 50x, 80x extracts of like the salvia increased in potency, which you can smoke. You can also just smoke the leaves, and that's gonna. I've met some people who have very beneficial journeys with that even. So the point of like it doesn't like to be smoked, it not sure if it's true. It's something that some people say, and that's even in the older traditions from shamans who use salvia. Some people there say it even. But then also I've met people who say smoking salvia has been very beautiful for them. And even smoking and exploring just the leaves has been a very subtle, gentle presence for them, teaching them a lot. Or going into the higher doses and the extracts, there's a little bit more rare to find people who really enjoy that experience. But even there's people who say it's like, oh, it's something either they get a lot of benefit on, or they just enjoy the kind of taste, the color, the nature of the salvia experience itself. But with the smoking higher extracts, I would say most people do not enjoy this experience. And there is even, regarding the salvia, there is a higher potential to have a traumatic experience. So I've also met people, and it's very clear that many people have such traumatic experiences with salvia, especially smoking the higher extracts and going to the higher dosages, that they get a sense of PTSD from that experience. And so that's a real danger and a real possibility of that happening. That, yeah, you just don't know what's going to happen in those spaces. Uh, and yeah, with the salvia, very, very careful. Always, always, always have a trip sitter there, I would say. Always have a trip sitter there. Um, because it's just so easy to lose control, and it's so easy to completely lose touch with all of reality. Um, so that's the part about salvia, and then the journey is going to be very unique for everybody. But I would say be very committed and sure if you really want to explore that space, and also have it is recommended to have experiences, and also deep experiences with the other substances, to get a sense of the psychedelic space before jumping into the unique salvia experience. And I'm excited to explore it further myself as well. So nothing against salvia, but especially being careful with it, because there's tremendous potential for having a very, very difficult time.
Be aware, simply.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
And entheogens. Yes, entheogen. Uh, it's such an interesting word. So psychedelic means kind of mind manifesting, manifesting the mind or the psyche or the soul. And entheogen has been a word that has been used for psychedelics or psychedelic substances. It's so hard to categorize or put into a certain different sense of category these experiences, because there are so many nuances and difficulties in categorizing them. With the dissociatives like ketamine or salvia is going to be a very different experience than DMT, and DMT is going to be different than 5-MeO DMT. And it's like there's so many different, or the amphetamines, it's like they all have psychedelic qualities, but not really. So there's many words that have been invented and be suggested for describing these states and these substances. And entheogen basically means bringing out the God within, or God releasing. So that's the core root of the word entheogen. Comes kind of also generating the divine within, from the Greek en, which means within, and the theos, which means God or divinity, and genere, which means to create. So to generate or to create the divine within. Which is a subtle difference, because there's a subtle difference in God releasing or bringing out the God within, or just like connecting ourselves to the divine, and also generating the divine within. So it is something that comes from the inside that we are doing. And then there is a certain sense of not controversy, but discussion or different perspectives on the word of the use entheogen. So saying something is an entheogen is something some people do, like saying ayahuasca is an entheogen. That would mean, in the truest sense of the word, that ayahuasca is a substance which brings out the God within, or which enables us to generate the divine within. But then in some cases, and I would actually say in a lot of them, it doesn't. Or with the salvia, it's like it doesn't generate the divine within. In a certain sense, it always does, because everything is divine and everything is sacred and everything is God in a certain sense. So it always brings out more of that God and more of that divine. So in a certain sense, everything is an entheogen, because everything is just bringing out more of God, or generating this sense of divine. But if we go with the common sense of like this enlightenment experience, awakening experience, experiences of light and love, and seeing that as the entheogenic experience, then there's a subtle difference in also saying this is an entheogen. So taking the substance and labeling it as an entheogen, or saying, I am using the substance, whatever it might be, if it might be cacao or ayahuasca or DMT or 5-MeO DMT, for entheogenic purposes. So then there, entheogenic is the word used as an intention. So using the intention of using a certain substance for an entheogenic purpose. So I'm going into the experience with the intention of generating the divine within. And that's a subtle difference, because it's so hard to say something is an entheogen, because not always going to bring out this divine within, but we can also shift our perspectives and say, okay, I'm doing a cacao ceremony, I'm doing a 5-MeO DMT ceremony, I'm doing an ayahuasca ceremony with entheogenic purposes behind that. I'm using it for entheogenic purposes to generate the divine or generate God within, bringing out the God within.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Exactly. Because at the end of the day, I guess we are all trying to seek that divinity within and outside, even if it's not always a conscious desire. So, yeah, I would like to ask you to start wrapping up this very nourishing conversation. You know, this podcast is called Hummingbird Vortex Podcast. And the reason why is because for our community, we place a lot of importance in activating and enhancing and working with the heart intelligence. So I would like to ask you, currently, which is your relationship with your heart space? How does your heart feel here and now today? Yeah, giving the microphone a little bit more to this quinta essence part of you.
That's a beautiful question to wrap up this podcast. How does my heart feel right now? I'll have to feel into that a little bit. So my heart feels a lot of excitement, joy, fulfillment, gratitude for having had this opportunity to share my story and my experiences and my perspectives with all of you here who are listening and with you who's asking these beautiful questions. Um, yeah, so this joy is really present at the moment in my heart. Also, when I was feeling into it, there's still underlying certain senses of heaviness. So, and then also the appreciation of that, which I've been coming more and tapping more into lately, of embracing the whole spectrum of human experience. So I have been going through a spiritual crisis caused by psychedelic use over from September last year for over 3 months, and then emerging out of that, which was a lot of suffering. Now I've been sick for 8 weeks, and it's been very challenging, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally. With the partnership, there's some tension going on, some change happening, and that is emotionally difficult. And I feel all that in my heart and in my heart space. And that is all part of the human experience. And lately, I've been going through this process of not wanting it to be that way. So I want it to be healthy again. I want things to clear up. I want things to be more joyous, more filled with this sense of love and light and excitement and passion. And this is all there, but the other parts are also there, and I wanted them not to be there. So resisting all of these parts, which are part of the human experience, induced even more heaviness and suffering into my heart and into my life. And now recently I've been reading Meister Eckhart, the great German mystic, or also just going through some coaching practices myself and reflecting. And now I can see and feel also more that it is okay to feel that. And there is a certain beauty as well in feeling all of this, all of the ups and the downs, all of the difficult experiences. Everything is kind of put into our path for a reason, and it is already accepted by God and by the universe, by the very fact that something is and something is existence. That means it is allowed to be there. That means it is approved and accepted already by God. And who are we to judge that we want it to be different? Because it is just as beautiful as it is right now. And we can fully embrace that. And with that comes a sense of peace and acceptance and surrender to all of the lessons life is teaching us at this very moment. So that is what is present in my heart at the moment, and the lessons I've been learning. And sometimes it is hard, and sometimes it is very difficult to go through all of these different emotions. But by the very fact that we are aware of all of this, there is a certain sense of underlying beauty in that, and we can
Mm.
appreciate that beauty in this underlying sense of the goodness and the humanly perceived dark and difficult and challenging situations, which we are also blessed to feel.
Thank you so much. Very profound what your heart is moving through right now. So wishing all the love for all those changes and softness for adapting, flexibility as well to move in the direction that you desire. I would like to complete this conversation asking you, what is your wish for our world? We are experiencing so many changes collectively. Our earth as well is transforming. So, yeah, what is your vision for our world?
So I guess my wish and the vision would be two separate things.
Okay.
I'd like to share the wish. The wish for our world is that every single one of us is gonna be connected to who we truly are, and then step into the empowerment of choosing who we want to be. That is what my work is about, empowering people to realize and recognize their own freedom to take the responsibility for their own purification and for their own awakening, and to express that as authentically as possible into their own lives, because I think this is going to make the biggest change in our world. Not thinking at this higher big picture scale, but really nailing it down to each one of us, and then doing the work inside. That's what I'm wishing, that everybody is going to be ready and to feel whatever is going on and to step into who you truly are, and then express that out into the world in your sense of service. And that is going to ripple out so much, because that is going to inspire other people to do the same, and that is going to ripple out throughout all of humanity and ultimately the whole earth, which is going to bring out a more, I would say, not even beautiful, because everything is beautiful just as it is right now, but a more aligned and true expression of what we can tap into and what we can be as a collective as well. So that's my wish for everybody, that they are stepping into who they truly are and are taking the responsibility and the steps necessary to free themselves from themselves, to be a vessel for the divine to flow and express that love outwards into the world, while at the same time recognizing the beauty and the perfection in each and every moment, just as it is right now, not wanting it to be different than it is, moving towards a better tomorrow while being and recognizing the perfection of today. So not forgetting this recognition of the perfection of things as they already are.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That's such a powerful wish for our world. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely nourishing. And you said wish and vision are different things. I wonder if you would like to add anything
I
regarding
guess
your
as I talked about it, the vision is
vision.
kind of that. I guess that is the vision. There's some personal preferences in how I would like to see it play out, but that's also part of my egoistic desires of coming more into alignment with nature as a collective sense of humanity, being more true and authentic in our communications with each other, recognizing and feeling and processing everything we are feeling fully, taking care of the earth, and just being aware of our impact on the earth itself. So all these little details would be part of my vision of what I was first thinking about, but I think my wish of what I said there is also connected to that is inevitably gonna realize the best vision of what a possible future could look like.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Vergo. It's been beyond the expectations. All that we have shared, and there's so much beautiful pearls of wisdom as well, and the most important, really embody experience. So for anyone who is ready to be coach in this work, all the links below. If you want to see Vergo's Psychedelic Actualization channel as well, please refer, and just wishing you all the best, all the love for what you're offering to our world. Thank you so, so much. I have deep gratitude for what you offer. Thank you, Virgo. It's been beautiful.
Thank you so much. It was such a joy to be here and to be able to share and to connect with you on a deeper level. And thank you everybody for listening till that point. All the love.